Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
So, welcome to the Hollybush Garden. I'm Freya.
And I'm Alex.
And we work for the Green Gym Project at TCV Leeds, based at Hollybush Conservation Centre. And today we're going to be talking through a few things that you can find in the garden and that you can eat. And we're not talking about the things that you normally grow, like your veg and stuff. We're talking about the things that more often than not you're pulling out of your veg patch.
Yeah, the weeds that you usually think were weeds, but are, good for eating and also drinking. Yeah,
so the sort of things that you don't necessarily think of as veg, as food, but actually are some really great things, especially at this time of year, that you can eat. You can put them in your salads, you can put them in your teapot, you can put them in your soups, and they've got loads and loads of nutritional value, and some of them are pretty delicious.
Yeah.
And I think I've eaten more of them before than Alex has. So this is what I'm looking forward to. A lot of today is going to be...
I'm going to be the guinea pig for today.
Me making Alex eat things on the telly and seeing how he reacts. So, yeah, we've got Hazel, who is in the comments. She will be commenting as TCV Hollybush, I believe, or possibly, yeah, she'll be commenting, coming up in the comments from TCV. And if you've got any questions, ask her. We might be able to pop over and have a look at the phone screen and see if any questions have come through. But for the most, and we'll try and answer questions live. So do any questions you've got, any queries you've got, post them in the comments and we will try and answer them for you. And if we can't answer them now, we'll try and come back after the fact and answer them for you then. But yeah, I think we should probably start by saying only eat things if you know what they are.
Yeah.
Like, there are things that you get in gardens that can be a little bit bad for you. So,
yeah, only if you're 100% certain.
Yeah, so don't want to make you scared to try new things, but do make sure that you have ID'd what you're eating. So we don't want to encourage people to just go out into the garden and start eating all the berries. Only eat things when you know they're the edible thing. And if you're a little bit unconfident, then send a picture through and we might be able to answer it for you.
There's lots of resources online. If you check YouTube out, YouTube's a great place to check for things like that. So just to make sure that what you've got in your salad is actually edible. Yeah.
So we've gone around and we've harvested a few things today. I would say with sort of plant ID, it's really important that you kind of use all of your senses. So learn what a plant's like, learn what it looks like, which is what looking pictures up on the internet can help you with. But it's really important that you smell things, you feel things. So different plants have a different texture. You'll hear different things like waxy cuticles and things like that, that sort of, you get the feel of different leaves and also the smell. So that's going to be a really important thing for some of the things we're looking at today. I'm excited for making you drink that. I think that stuff's delicious.
Well, I mean, we've got a smorgasbord of different natural things in here. What do you want to sort of kick it off with?
Should we come in and have a look at the stuff that we've got? Let me move this out of the way.
Tell you what, I can pick it up and bring it over.
So we've got these in our truck. So if I lay these out a little bit more, we'll start with, so we've pruned this off an overgrown hedge. Can anyone comment, go right in on a leaf? What do people think this is?
So in a few weeks' time, it will have some bright red berries on.
Yeah, white flowers and then red berries. You quite often get it in hedges.
We have eaten it before on stream as well. We said it tasted like apple peel, if that helps anyone out.
Yeah, it's related. You can graft pear trees into it. This is hawthorn. So hawthorn leaves, this is where the waxiness, so the older leaves further down tend to be the bigger leaves, and later in the season they kind of develop this sort of toughness. But when they're at this time of year, if you get the sort of lighter green ones that are softer and you can eat these. I'm just going to eat things. I'm eating.
We don't have to film me eating these because I've definitely eaten these before on camera.
They do taste a bit like apple peel, don't they? And they're just something that you can add to your salad. And as we said before, like hawthorn produces the red berries, so the haws they're called. They're like a little red stone fruit that you get from a hawthorn bush, and you can add them. You can make a ketchup out of them. You can make quite a lot of things out of them.
Jams and jellies and things.
So we've got quite a few of them. Is it worth going and...
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So these are smaller ones. Here, they're only about a metre and a half tall, but they grow into full tall tree. Oh, there's a couple behind. There you go. You can see that they do develop into quite tall trees.
Yeah, they're part of the scrub layer, so they're never like really big standard trees. But one thing we should say when you're foraging is only... So we've cut some branches off there, but that's because it was sort of growing out into a path sort of thing. General rule, don't cut anything off that you don't plan on using. So you can just come and you can just pick the leaves from here and take what you want. Don't take more than you want. Don't take more than you need. Leave plenty for someone else and leave plenty for nature as well. And then don't damage the tree, don't damage the plant. Never dig anything up from the wild. If you don't own it, it's illegal to dig up the roots of things. You probably wouldn't do that with a hawthorn, but there's other things we'll come to later that you might be more tempted to do that with. So yeah, that's the hawthorn. It does taste apple peeling. I've never thought of it as tasting like apple peel until you said it, but it really does.
Well, they're related, aren't they? The trees are related.
Yeah, so that's saying you can graft pears onto a hawthorn hedge. Which one do you want to choose the next one?
Should we go for another one that's a bit obscure? I don't know. I want to leave the big things, like the drinking of things, later. But
okay,
maybe
should we go with
those? Yeah.
Let's go with. We'll do both of these because these are both ones that are related. It's wilted a little bit. So these are related. These are Jack by the Hedge, which is this one, otherwise known as garlic mustard, and this is Bittercress. So these are two plants that you might... I mean, I weeded that one out of the raised bed behind us earlier, and there's more growing up there. It's wilted a little bit since this morning, but they've got these kind of pinnate leaves that have these little lobes on them going up, and they kind of grow in a little rosette from the base with all those leaves coming up, and then this sort of stem comes up with these little white flowers. And when these flowers open up, they're like little 4-petaled ones, because this is part of the brassica family. So the same family as your mustards, your rocket, your kale, your cabbage family. So where the cabbage family ones have the sort of little red flowers, yellow flowers, these mustardy ones have these little 4-petaled white flowers. But they've all got these little 4-petaled flowers, and that's kind of part of how you can ID that something's part of this family. And then,
speaking of 4-petaled little white flowers,
so this is the garlic mustard. So mustard in the name implies it's got the mustardiness to it, and yeah, they're related. And quite often that shaped flower is a sign that you might be able to eat it, and that's definitely something you can see. You can look into the sort of cruciform flowers in the book, and that will tell you that. Yeah, that will help you ID it. So if you've got your book, you've got your key. That's a key thing. That's a thing to look for on the key, the 4 petals, and that'll help you ID it. And then you can kind of look at the shape of the leaves. So they're almost like nettle leaves, aren't they? But
yeah. Well, this is 2nd year growth. 1st year growth, they grow a bit more lobed.
So yeah, they've got these sort of almost nettly leaves. Do we have any that were 1st year?
I don't
Surely
know.
we do. We've got loads of Jack by the Hedge everywhere.
The 1st year ones are similar to this, but instead of coming to a point at the end, they kind of round out and they look more like a spade. Is there any?
Here we go.
Oh yeah, there we go.
So there's one of the bigger. And yeah, you can eat these. Have you eaten some of this?
No, I'll eat it now live on camera.
Yeah.
I'm gonna set it up. Here we go. I've eaten grown garlic things before, mustard things before, but I've never eaten one.
So this is one where it is really important. So there are things, especially with these leaves, things that look quite similar, where people will be like, "Oh, I found some garlic mustard," but like it isn't garlic mustard. Like if you smell it, rub it between your fingers and give it a smell. It smells sort of garlicky, mustardy smell. Have you eaten some?
Yeah, it's got a very peppery, quite a strong taste.
Oops. Have you eaten some of the flowers? So quite often the flowers and the leaves Oh,
I took a bunch then.
Quite often the leaves have a more savoury flavour, but flowers quite often have like, because they've got the pollen and the nectar in, they've quite often got like a bit of a sweeter flavour, so they can be really nice and a really pretty thing to just put in salads or something.
Or, you know, if you're meeting friends for a socially distanced drink, you can always freeze some in
I wouldn't put
cubes.
these ones in your ice cubes.
Well, I don't know yet.
Yeah. There's lots of edible wildflowers. You get into...
Yeah, the flavour, it's similar, like it's got that pepperiness, but it's a lot sweeter. It'd be nice in a Bloody Mary, like a savoury drink.
Yeah, maybe that would. Yeah, it would. Maybe ice cubes and a Bloody Mary with some. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are two, and yeah, they do have kind of. Oh, you've not had the Bittercress yet, have you?
I have not.
So this is the Bittercress one, the one we were looking at with the lobed leaves. So this is definitely one. It's a really common weed that you will have pulled out of your veg patch if you've got a veg patch.
So just the leaf bit of this then.
We can eat the flowers as well.
Yeah, I'll eat the leaf first. So here we go. Right, I mean, it tastes like watercress. It really does. Yeah,
but it's kind of, it's got a subtler flavour than watercress.
It's nicer than watercress. I'm not a massive fan of watercress, but because it's quite overpowering when it's in a salad. But yeah, no, this is quite nice.
Yeah, I told you.
I'll have a couple of the flowers.
He didn't trust me. I've been telling him that these things actually taste good, and he's been really cynical.
Well, the flowers on this they're much sweeter.
Are they? Yeah.
Yeah, just when you're doing this, if you just roll them on the tip of your tongue.
Yeah. And like lots of flowers that come out later in the year are edible as well. So you've got your borage and like your nasturtiums. They're the kind of well-known ones. But there's plenty. If you start looking on the Google, looking up edible flowers, there's loads.
Oh, I'd say that the mustard leaves taste like a less powerful nasturtium leaf. If you've had nasturtiums before, which they're quite common in fancy salads and whatnot, but yeah, like a less powerful nasturtium leaf.
And these are something where you wouldn't necessarily want a salad that was made entirely of this, but if you cut this up fine and put it in a salad amongst the other flavours with your lettuce and things, it just adds that extra element of deliciousness.
Layered flavours, yeah.
Yum, 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 yum. I reckon we should go with this little guy. I want you to drink that. I feel like we need a palate
cleanser. Do we want to drink that now? I mean, yeah, I do need to clean my palate. So I'll come in close. We have here a jug full of something that, as a school kid, we all used to throw them at each other. And yeah, well, no, there you go. Fraser just threw this at me, and it sticks. So I used to call this sticky weed at school, but it's also known as goose grass.
Goose grass, cleavers. It's got a few different common names. It's quite well known, isn't it? I think a lot of British school kids will have met this, probably. And it's another one that's definitely thought of as a weed by a lot of people.
Yeah.
But actually, if you're weeding it, I would recommend getting a jug of water at the beginning of the day. So this is just cold water.
This is the one I'm most nervous about.
So this is just a jug of cold water where at the start of the day, you start with your gardening session, get your jug of cold water, pick a load of cleavers, do a bit of weeding, put the cleavers, put the goose grass, put the sticky weed, put it in the water, bob it in the fridge, and then when you come to have or pop it in the shade so it doesn't get too warm, and then come back to it when you want your break or when you've eaten all your garlic mustard. I don't know if it's been, and when it's been there for an hour or two.
It's been in there for about an hour now.
I'm hoping it's got enough of the flavour.
Yeah. Right, well, cheers.
I mean, it does taste like flavoured water.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty good. Yeah, that is pretty good.
Oh, ye of little faith.
I wasn't expecting it to be that sweet. It tastes like it's got a similar feel to sort of elderflower water. You've had elderflower flavoured water.
It's almost sweet, almost lemonade-y. It's like, yeah, it's hard to describe. Like
the smell is, it smells. Yeah, it's got a very
really
sort of
nice.
sweet, citrusy, like clementine sort of flavour. God, that's really good.
He didn't believe me.
I was really worried that it was going to have a bunch of sticky stuff that would stick to my mouth, but it doesn't.
I think he thought I was trying to trick him.
Yeah.
And also quite a good palate cleanser.
Mm.
So, like, I would recommend doing this. And yeah, you don't have to go out even necessarily on a specific mission to harvest these things. You can harvest them as you're weeding. Because, yeah, just pick a load of this out of your raised bed or out of the corner of your garden or find it out in the park. I don't think anyone's going to mind if you pick some goose grass. Yeah, bung it in your water bottle, bung it in a jug of water, just in a pint glass if that's what you've got. And yeah, it's delicious. And you can eat these, so you can blend them up. You can put them in. The leaves are edible too.
The flavour of the actual plant itself, is it similar to how it's made the water taste? Or
no, I don't quite know why it goes quite so sweet and delicious. It's similar flavour, but it's not.
I'm gonna get one that's been doused a little bit.
It's got more of the savoury to it. But
they're quite soft leaves, aren't they?
So you can put that in salad and things.
I
don't know if you pour boiling water over, because sometimes if you pour boiling water over something just quickly, that can take away the sort of hairiness of it. But I don't mind
I think I would go for that. It's not unpleasant. It's not unpleasant, but yeah.
But you can sneak that in a salad, and like amongst other things.
I don't think you'd notice if it was in a microgreen salad. Just a few of those leaves, because they're
yum 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 yum.
And I mean, everything that we're eating and showing today is super high in things like vitamin C and iron and lots of important things to help with your immune system. And yeah, they're what people would call superfoods, which I'm not a massive fan of that word superfood, because everything has got its benefits. It's just a bit silly, really. Like, yeah, everything is a superfood in its own right. Maybe apart from a McDonald's or other fast food is available.
Potatoes, they're my favourite superfood. They're great.
I keep going back for that drink. I would seriously, out of everything that I've already tasted, the goose grass, the sticky weed, I would definitely recommend putting that in some water, because it's really nice.
Yeah, and the other things, I'd sneak them into a salad, cut them up fine. I wouldn't sit there and eat like fistfuls of it. But this, like, I'd happily, as I said, like, set a jug up at the beginning of your gardening session, and then sit there and just drink your way through that, because it's really nice and it's really refreshing as well. It's just got this sort of, particularly delicious.
I am going to pour the rest of this water out, but not because I'm not enjoying it, because we've got another thing to try out. Should we do? Yeah, we'll do that one next. So, hold on. Another thing that is commonly known as a weed. I tell you what, we don't even have to. Is this plant here? And if you've ever done any sort of bushcraft or
let's zoom on justice, so like in case you're getting confused with the comfrey.
So if you've ever done any sort of bushcraft, or when you're a kid, you're in the scouts or anything like that, you've probably eaten this. And you've also probably been stung by lots of them if you go outside.
Which I'm doing this without gloves on, and like.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
So this is the stinging nettle. If you handle them and you've got coarse, calloused hands like I do, then you can get away with handling them. But I would recommend wear gloves. And this is a tip, so when you harvest them, I'll put some gloves on. Oh no, I've left my gloves inside. So when you harvest them, especially if you're gonna eat, just take the top. So use some scissors or something, put some gloves on, and just take that top bit. The lower down leaves tend to be a little bit tougher. I mean, you can eat them, especially if you're making tea out of them.
Or it's like a stew.
But these fresh ones at the top, and this time of year when they're really young, they are at their best. You think so?
Do you just eat that as it was? Wow, okay, well, I'm not going to do that. We've got a teapot here. So, Nettle Tea. I think before...
I'm going to smash that glass if I do that.
Well, that's Pyrex's, that one, I think. I'll tell you what, I'll get in close to this. So...
There we go.
Looks a bit unsavoury, not going to lie. But yeah, nettle tea again is one of these superfoods. It's It's super high in iron, really, really good for you. And it used to be eaten and drank a lot more. Like, I think nowadays nettles are just seen as
I think there's a theory it was brought in by the Romans or something. I think it is a theory. I don't think it's necessarily known.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But there's a theory that it was brought in as a food crop. Like, it's not just, this is something we can eat. It's something that was cultivated.
Oh, right.
So yeah, just pick some nettle leaves with your gloves on. Don't eat them like I did. That's clearly a terrible plan.
Have you stung your tongue? No.
It used to be so. I used to do it all the time when I was a kid, just to be like, if there's a certain way of doing it that means you don't get stung. And I used to do it to prove a point when I was an obnoxious child. But
you've done it now as an obnoxious
you put
adult.
It in you put it in the teapot, you put it in your teacup, just put the leaves in your teacup, pour boiling water on it like you would a tea bag, and yeah, you've got nettle tea.
So here we go. I've already shown it, but it's sort of fluorescent yellow colour. I guess the more leaves you put in, the longer you steep it for, the darker it would go. But
and we've only got nettle here, which I like it as only nettle, but you can, I also like just putting like a mint leaf, if you've got some mint, popping a mint leaf in there, try and just adds a little bit of flavour. Same goes with this. Well, I just do this as the goose grass, but you can put a thing of mint in there to make that extra refreshing as well.
So I'll describe the smell first. The smell, it's got a very sort of hearty, vegetable-y smell, like almost like a root vegetable sort of smell, I think. Like a carroty sort of smell. But
goose grass water is so good.
Taste, I mean, it's pleasant. It's not bad. It's not tea in the sense that it's not same as regular Yorkshire tea bag tea, but it's
like a herbal tea. No need to get your fancy herbal teas from the shop. Like, you can just get some nettle leaves.
It tastes like it's really good for you. Like, that's not negative. That's genuinely a positive. It does taste.
And so I've just got a bag of where I've been weeding. I've just got a bag of nettles, and I'll just take it home and you can treat it like spinach. So if you want to handle them and put them in cooking, if you're not an idiot like me, put them in a colander, put them in the sink, and just get a kettle of boiling water and just run that over them. Get all of them, and that just immediately kills the sting in them. And you can handle them then, you can chop them up. You can bung them in a pan, you can treat them like spinach, basically. That's quite often a phrase you'll read in sort of foraging books. Treat it like spinach. You can fry it, you can put it in soups, you can put it in stews. I just put some, at this time of year, when the leaves are young and fresh and sort of most full of goodness, I just put them in pretty much every meal, to be honest. I
think from the taste and smell of the tea, I think if you put some cream in with it, it'd make a really nice soup stock. Put some potatoes and some garden veg in.
What else might you mix with it? So that's actually one of my favourite soups at this time of year, is nettle soup. You can just have nettle soup. But nettle soup with our next friend. Should we do that with?
Yeah, I can zoom in. Bring the camera over.
So this is wild garlic or ransom. So this one is
We have a comment from Sandy Brown saying Kate Humble made a tea with nettle, goose grass, and dead nettle. Said it was lovely. Tried it a few days ago and it was awful. Well, we're definitely. I'm not lying. I'm being completely honest. The things that I tasted today are genuinely really nice. Dead nettle. I'd imagine it tastes similar, but I don't think the goose grass water and the nettle would pair well together. It's quite two very different flavors. That's very sweet and that's very savory. But by themselves, they're quite nice. Go on.
So the next one is wild garlic. So this time of year, if you go for a walk in loads of woods, our woods here. I mean, should we go up around the corner?
Yeah, we can let's have a wander.
Have a look at it.
I mean, I can already see some dotted about in here, but
it's just everywhere.
Look, there's a massive patch there.
Oh, and the flowers are coming out on those. Should we?
Hold on. I can jump over
and go and have a look at the flowers of these, because so ours come out quite early at Hollybush. Because we're in the valley, we get our wild garlic coming into leaf quite early, but now it's out in most places. Like it's out in loads and loads of woods, and you often smell it. Like, and if you see people sort of off in the undergrowth, like with bags filling them up with leaves, it's quite often that they're picking. I mean, yeah.
If you just, I mean, I haven't even rubbed this between my fingers yet, but if you just snap a leaf off, yeah, it's that really beautiful garlic smell. And the flowers are edible as well. The flowers would go really nice on top of a pretty upper salad, but the leaves themselves, you just chuck them on anything.
Yeah. So like garlic, like onion, it's part of the allium family. So alliums, you get those sort of big sort of firework like flowers, like chive flowers and like ornamental alliums. These ones aren't quite like that, but they've kind of got a similar structure where they've got a central point with these lots of little flower heads coming out, and you can actually eat the flowers of these. They have the slightly sweeter flavor, but they do pack a punch.
Oh, there we go. So on screen right now, you can see it goes by lots of different names.
Yeah.
Stinking Jenny is probably the best one there.
Oh, is it? That's pretty good. Are you going to eat one?
Yeah. I had one that hadn't fully opened earlier. It was really quite nice.
It's another thing that's really nice. Just pick the flowers and put them in a salad or something. If you want to look fancy at a dinner party or something, as we're all sort of going, when we're allowed dinner parties again, and we're all going to put loads of effort into socializing because we've forgotten how to do it. Get fancy and put flowers in your salad.
Yeah. Well, that was really nice. It's really peppery and garlicky. Yeah.
And again, if you get it on your tongue, it gets to have that sweetness, and then it packs the punch of the garlickiness, and I love it.
Shall we have a look at some things you can make with it?
Yeah, so that was why I was doing this one after the nettles, because this is something that I would definitely pair with stinging nettles to put in a soup. So, yeah, navigate this.
Without stepping on as little stuff as you can.
So yeah, get some wild garlic, get some nettles. I put a couple of potatoes in, maybe some lentils if you're
everywhere.
Going out there.
Like, there you go, there's some more there as well.
So this actually gets known as a bit of an invasive pest in some gardens. Like, people are... It spreads like anything. It's all over here. It's all over here. It's absolutely everywhere. It's great for like woodlands because it likes the shade. And it creates ground cover in areas where you don't necessarily get that much plant life growing. So it's great for the soil. It's great, but in your garden, you might end up with slightly more of it than you want. So if you are putting it in your garden, do just try and put it in a pot, maybe plant it in a pot or plant something to stop it spreading, some root barrier of some kind. Some old offcuts of pond liner just sort of wrapped around, buried with it in the middle, so it's not going to be spreading. And it has like, we should have dug some up actually. It has like sort of a little white bulb underneath it. But if you're harvesting it from the woods, as I said at the start, you should never dig up the bulb. It's actually illegal to dig up the bulb. So only harvest the leaves. It's not like the garlic that you get in a shop where you harvest the bulb, or you might grow in a garden. You harvest the leaves or the flowers. Take some scissors with you. Again, don't take more than you need. Harvest a couple of leaves from each plant. Like, don't come and just...
Yeah.
You sometimes will see someone's been in the woods and they've just gone with shears and they've just taken down like a massive area, and it's just like, no, just spend some time just sort of picking a leaf here, picking a leaf there, fill up a bag, fill up what you need. It goes quite far. But yeah, now again, nettles and wild garlic, I'm just putting in everything. Like, I'm just putting it in everything that I eat.
I don't blame you. It's amazing. And again, a few leaves of that you've foraged are the same as a couple of cloves of garlic that you'd buy from the shop.
Yeah. And yeah, if you're mixing it with your nettles, I think nettles are one of the vegetables with the highest iron. Like, they're really high in iron.
That's why it's a substitute for spinach.
Well, it's loads better than spinach. Like, it's I think parsley is the only other leafy green that's sort of eaten that has higher. I need to fact check that. Fact check me. Someone fact check me in the comments. But like, it's really high in iron, so it really is worth for cooking. And like, yeah, you've got your vitamin K and things. So this is it is one of those things that you get a sort of a glut of it at this time of year. And yeah, you're like me, you're putting it in absolutely everything. But then there's this sort of sad point in time where you... This sad time that it only lasts for a couple of months, and as it comes into flower, like it's coming to... We've still got a little while left, but it is coming to the end of its season.
The flowers are out now, which means it's coming to an end.
Yeah, then like how preserving it is what I'm getting to. So preserving it, there's a few different ways you can do it. You can just cut it up or blend it up, and you can put it in your freezer. You can put it in little portion bags in your freezer. That's kind of the most straightforward way, and then you've just got it fresh as to just put in your food, like spinach again, and you can add it to your curry, you can add it to your pasta sauce, you can add it to whatever and defrost it. You can also make pesto. That's quite a common one, which is sort of mush it up. That's your favourite one, isn't it, Alex?
Yeah, I've done that before. Yeah, mushing it up in some oil.
Maybe adding some pine nuts or something if you're feeling fancy.
Chili flakes, I added. It was wonderful. It lasted for quite a while as well.
Yeah, and the thing that I really, really, really like to do with it is to make sort of wild garlic, lacto-fermented wild garlic. That doesn't sound that delicious, but basically it's the same process as you make kimchi with or sauerkraut with, which is basically that you cut it up, you add salt. I've added a thing of chili flakes as well, but it's not quite a kimchi or a sauerkraut because it's got different ingredients. So technically, in the same way as you can't have a certain types of cheese outside the district they come
Milton
from.
Mowbray pork pie.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so it's a lacto ferment process, but it's a really nice way of preserving it. But it changes the flavour. But what you do, so I've cut it up fine. I've added some salt. So I had sort of a bag. I've added about a tablespoon of salt to this bowl, and then I've added about half as much chili flakes. But that's kind of a personal preference. You add the salt, you leave it for a little while so that brings out the liquid and sort of breaks it down a little bit. And you just crush it with your hands. And I don't know if you get right in, if you can see that there's the liquid coming out of it.
Yeah, there you go. I can see it then. Wow.
So I'm wearing gloves because I've obviously been up in the woods, and that's not necessarily the most sterile place. I wouldn't wear gloves if I was doing this at home. Well, I might do because my hands would get really garlicky with this one.
There's very strong smell.
you want to make sure that everything you're using, like your bowl, I've washed all the leaves. You wash your hands thoroughly. You wash your jar thoroughly that it's going to go into. So start with everything being really thoroughly cleaned. If you've got any food safe sterilizing solution, then yeah, cover it with that. And you can see at the bottom, like there's all this liquid that's coming out of it, and that's just coming out of the plant. This is just the liquid that's coming out of that. And the reason you want to make sure it's all clean is because this process, it's the lacto fermentation of sort of the bacteria, the good bacteria in the plant, that then starts to produce lactose. So it's got the saltiness and the lactoseness. That's a word that ferments. So it's not like boozy fermentation. It's lactosey fermentation. And you've got quite a few things like your kefir and things that use the same chemicals to ferment, and you can use a rolling pin with this to smush it all up, and then it preserves it. But it's really good for you. Like it's really, really, it's when you get probiotic yogurts, that's sort of it's that sort of chemicals,
the active bacteria,
and they're just really good for your gut. There's loads of evidence recently. Like I was listening to, Michael Mosley did a radio show on like how they're linking it to sort of this gut bacteria and this sort of the benefits of eating lacto-fermented things on your mental health. Like,
okay, yeah, it's
quite interesting. Of like, kind of, we were talking about earlier. You can't fix all your problems with you can't fix all your problems with by eating vegetables, but like, it can help with things you wouldn't necessarily expect it to. Thing with lacto-fermenting is it does, if you eat a lot of it straight away, it can make you a little bit think the word's farty.
Gassy.
So do be careful that you don't eat loads at once, but just sort of start by having little bits and sort of building it up over time. And then basically that's, if it is making you farty when you have it, that kind of means that your stomach is lacking the things that it's adding. So it kind of means that you need to persevere and add more of it in, and that should help improve your sort of gut balance, hopefully. But yeah, with a lot of things, if you're trying new things, yeah, take it steady, take it slow.
Would it be possible to add nettle leaves to the process you're doing now, or would you add them later on?
Oh, right, so I wouldn't add nettles into this. I just do this as gut, but you could do.
Yeah.
You can pretty much do this process with any vegetable. So you do it with cabbage, and that makes your sauerkraut. If you add sort of different spices and things, then that becomes your kimchi. I've done it with carrots, I've done it with parsnips, I've done it with beetroot, I've done it with Jerusalem artichokes. That's quite a good way to sort of break down their sugars. But like, you can see now the amount of liquid that's come out of that.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So now, I've got my sterilised jar. I actually made a little bit earlier in a sort of classic Blue Peter style. It's much easier, so it's quite tricky with cabbage. If you've got, like, it takes quite a lot of hand strength. Like, it takes quite a lot of time, but this is much quicker. It's much, if you struggled with making sauerkraut, if you've tried that before and you've struggled with it, this is actually a simpler one. And yeah, just whack it in your jar. I've sterilised this earlier. And throw garlic juice everywhere, push it right down. You can get special jars that have weights and things, because you want to make sure that it's all underneath the liquid. So you can get special stones and special jars. They're quite expensive, and I don't have them. What I do, going to be honest, I mostly just do this and just leave it as. But you can fill a sort of a plastic freezer bag full of water, and then, well, you put it in and then you fill it with water, and that just pushes all of the solid matter wants to be under the surface of the liquid, because if it's poking out, it can go off. But if you
get any sort of pickled chilies or anything, it usually comes with like a little plastic thing at the top. It's like a plastic net, so it pushes the solid matter down, but the liquid can flow freely.
That's what I need to get. I need to go and buy some of those pickles, and then I need to use them for doing my lacto fermenting, don't I?
It looks like Hulk's blood. Like, it's such vibrant green colour.
Yeah. I should say that. I'll just show. So I just cut it into strips to do this. I just cut like that before, and then I put the salt on it. So you're going to mush it, so it doesn't need to be particularly. It's a tiny, tiny knife. Yeah, it's as simple as that, and then you put it in your mixing bowl, you add your salt, and then you mush it up. And what you can do as well, I might actually add these after, is you can add some of the flower heads, so the little, before the flowers open up, you can put them in it, and that can be quite a nice little addition to it. Then you can pickle it as well, and then what you do is you put your lid on. You can get, as I said, you can get special fermentation jars that have like valves and things that mean the gas come out, but it's a living process, which means it produces gases in the process. So this will just every day, you just need to do a process called burping it, which is where you get your hand on top and you don't open the jar, but you just turn it sort of 45 degrees, sort of a little bit, just an eighth of a turn, and that just lets the build-up of gases out, and just do that every day.
Will it make the sound of like a fizz, like a pop can or something? Yeah,
that sort of noise. And then you can feel as well, if you push the top, it'll feel like it's full of gas. And you want to make sure that you leave like a good inch or so at the top, because if you don't, it bubbles up and it will find a way out, and you'll end up. I make quite a lot of sauerkraut of purple cabbage, and that can, if you fill the jar up, you can get quite a good coating on your kitchen of purple cabbage splatter.
Yeah.
Like, smells a bit cabbagey in it. Oh no! So do be careful. What I actually do is all the jars I've got going, I put them on a tray, and so even if they do that, it's going to go onto the tray. It's not going to go across your kitchen. Don't put it on the top shelf. Full of regrets.
Have you ever had a jar explode on you?
No, I haven't.
No.
But do make sure that you leave plenty of space at the top. and do just burp it every day, or every couple of days. Like, you've not ruined it if you don't burp it every day. The risk there is it getting too pressurized. It's not going to ruin the process. And you can just leave that for 4 weeks or something, and that you can come back and you can eat it raw. I really like it. It kind of makes this flavor more subtle, the garlicky flavor more subtle, but it adds this sort of sour flavor, the sort of sour flavor of lactose, but it's not lactose. What? Lactic acid, that sort of sourness.
Yeah.
It's not lactose. So you can give it to people that are lactose intolerant.
Yes.
Like, it's lactic acid that it builds up, and it's delicious. I had the stuff I made last year. I just finished it, so it actually lasted really, really well. If it starts to grow mold or something, sorry, it's gone wrong. Like, cut your losses. It was free. You got it from the woods. It's a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
You can keep it somewhere fairly cool. If you've got a cellar, that's great. Pop it in the fridge. Just keep it somewhere you don't want it somewhere too warm. And it's delicious. You can, if you want to do, the more you you handle it, the more likely it is to sort of get contaminated. More like jars of pickles, and so if you keep putting your hand in them, they tend to go moldy. So if you want to make lots of little jars of it, you're more likely to have them. Or you can decant it out of the bigger one when you've made it into little jars that you've sterilized as well. And that can be a sort of more manageable portions of it to get through before they get contaminated. Well, so that's that one.
The main thing I'd like to get out of you guys from this live stream this week is, if you do try do this process, I'd love some pictures in a month.
Yeah, please. That would be really nice. Yeah. So, did we do anything? Was there anything we've missed? Oh, I know what we've missed. We've got one more that we've not talked about.
We've got one more.
I'm going to take off these very smelly gloves.
We have. We'll go to the camera. We'll do the guessing game, because we've been doing the guessing game for some reason with all of these.
Yeah.
So this one here, hopefully.
The flower's a bit closed up. Now the sun's come out, have any of them opened up over here? Maybe zoom in on this one, the one that's down here, and see if anyone recognises it. So they close up but the sun's only just coming out now.
You've got this weed here that everybody seems to hate for some reason.
I absolutely love them. They're my favourite plant. Like, I just love their stubbornness of just like, it's going to be spring. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. I'm going to tell you that it's spring. And the seed heads, I just love the sort of clock-like nature of them. I love the game where you blow the seed heads and sort of tell the time with it. And
if you haven't guessed what it is by now,
I'm really struggling not to say the word, but
it's the dandelion.
The lion's teeth. So that's what dandelion means. It comes from so dandy is teeth, lion is lion.
The leaf here, got these really big, sharp, teeth-like structures on it.
And it's a lion. Well, surely it's because these look like a lion.
You'd think so. Yeah, probably.
And these are part of the daisy family, aren't they? So they, like we've talked about them before, they're made of compound flowers. So each of these little petals is actually a tiny little flower. So this, all of this is just loads and loads and loads of flowers that make one, which is why when you get the seed pods, you get loads and loads of seed pods. Because each of them, so each of them is a little ovum that has got fertilized and has become a seed pod. So a single flower will produce one fruit, like an apple. Because these are compound flowers, they produce loads and loads of, the seeds are effectively their fruit. And they're so cool. I don't like,
We're talking about forages.
We are, not just me singing the praises of them being beautiful.
If you've got them in your garden, do no more May. So leave your grass patch free of mowing this May.
Yeah.
It's really good for all the little mini bees and pollinators and things.
They're really good for it. And they come out, they're one of the early flowers, so they come out before a lot of other flowers. So early in the flowering season, there's not much else for the pollinators to come and feed off. So these are really great. You don't necessarily have to leave, if you don't want to leave your lawn, you could leave a little square meter. If you've got one that's just not in your way, just leave it if you don't want it to go to seed, then you can just deadhead it when the flowers start to go. Just chop the heads off before they go to seed, and that will stop it spreading.
Well, what could you do with the heads of the flowers?
Or any part of the plant, in fact.
So yeah, it's one of those plants where every part of it is edible. But
the root is edible, the leaves are edible, the flower is edible.
If you're vegan or you're looking for a honey alternative, you can actually make dandelion honey. And I watched the process. Someone making this. It does use a lot of sugar. So if you're diabetic or trying to cut down on sugar, probably wouldn't recommend this one. But the process is that you get, about 100, maybe even more, of dandelion heads. You boil them in water for about 30 minutes to an hour with, I think the person that I watched, she put some lemon rind in there as well, just to give it a bit of citrus flavour. But you can just do it.
I don't know, does it affect the process as well? Like sometimes lemon you add it because the acidity can change the reaction of things, and so sometimes lemon is actually important to processes rather than just a flavour.
But yeah, you boil these up, you then strain them, so get out some muslin or a cloth, strain it out into a jug, then put that jug into, you've got to boil about 1 kilogram of sugar. It's a lot of sugar, but yeah, bring kilogram of sugar to the boil, then add the dandelion juice in and let that simmer until it goes a sort of golden brown sort of colour. It'll start to thicken up and go golden brown like a honey. Then you can jar that up and it will last like honey does for quite a long time. And I've not had it myself, but I've read that it's not tasty. As sweet as honey if you don't put as much sugar in. But yeah, it's got a really nice sort of flowery flavour to it.
Yeah. And you can also, you can use the roots to make a coffee alternative. Yes, it's a diuretic, so or a lot of plants are like, so if you make a dandelion tea or something, it might not taste very good, but it can be good for sort of sorting out your urinary tract infection. That's what the
UTIs, I think a lot of the time it's cranberry juice is something that we use now because that's something that's readily available. But dandelion tea is really good, and it's got no sugar in. Cranberry juice has got really quite a high amount of sugar in. So again, if you're diabetic and you want a UTI sorting out,
but still take the medicine.
Get the medicine, but also dandelion tea is really good. And like you said, the roots make a really good coffee alternative. Apparently, they're really full of energy, and you can make that yourself, or you can go to like health food stores. They've got powdered root already.
Yeah, I think people do put like the leaves and things in salad. I personally wouldn't, as a personal preference, I wouldn't put the leaves. I mean, like, you can eat a little bit of them. See if they.
Again, just make sure there's no bird poop or any little mini bees on. Not gonna hurt.
They're not too bad. They're not actually as bad. I think it was always the stems and things I ate as a kid.
Oh.
And it tastes like earwax, but these don't taste as bad as it was going to in my head.
It's bitter.
It is bitter.
But it does have I can tell what the honey is going to taste like. It's got that really subtle undertone, hasn't it? It's like a very full, quite a deep sweetness.
Again, the flowers are sort of a sweeter version of the same flavour. Yeah, they're not too bad actually. I'd put them in salad. I'd sprinkle that in salad. And again, you don't want to put loads. This is something you could add a little bit of into your salad. Again, it is diuretic. It will make you need to wee. You may not want to put loads in. But
we were gonna make some dandelion tea and drink it at the start of the live stream.
That was
last a long time.
Brilliant. So I think that's all of the things. There's other things in the garden that you can eat. There's lots and lots of resources about foraging and things that are available, but these were sort of some of the most common ones you're most likely to be regularly weeding, and ones that are sort of, I would say, the most accessible to being able to access and being able to prepare in a way that's quite straightforward. And so maybe apart from the dandelion leaves in salad, I'd say all of the flavors of these I would say were quite.
I tell you what, we haven't done it, but I reckon if you steep some dandelions in with this goose grass, that would be delicious. That'd be really nice.
Yeah.
Really, really nice. Give that a try.
So like, yeah, potentially. Borage. I'm looking forward to borage flower. We might do another one of these later in the season because like later in the season there's more things. Like I would love to do one on just edible flowers because it's just a great thing. Like this, you can make such beautiful food if you just start like learning what flowers you can eat.
I really want to make elderflower fritters.
Oh yeah.
So when it comes time for the elderflowers to come out, then
we'll do some edible flowers later in the season. But like, yeah, all of these. Were there any? So you hadn't tasted a lot of them.
No, there was nothing that I had a massive dislike to. I wasn't a massive fan of the dandelion leaf or the cress, but that's just personal preference. I already knew going forward I don't like watercress, so I wasn't going to like the cress.
But yeah, it is a subtler flavour. Yeah, they're just all delicious.
None of this was like, none of it had an offensive taste.
Yeah,
you know, all very subtle.
We're not trying to trick you.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was pleasantly surprised.
Beech leaves are another one at this time of year that could be quite good when they're young and fresh. They've got kind of a sorrely taste.
Oh, I don't like sorrel. So I'm not.
It's no fun. Yeah. But actually, this was quite a lot of fun. I quite enjoyed making you try.
I actually don't know how long we've been going. An hour.
Have we? I think that's time that we wrap up. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us. We are doing these live streams every week, so we'll be back again next week with another topic on things that you can get closer to in nature, as the title of the series implies. So join us again Wednesday. These videos will be available online, so you're watching it live now, but you don't necessarily have to watch it live. So if you've watched it and you know anyone that might be interested, please do share it with people. People can watch it. If you've got a topic that you'd like us to cover, if you're like, oh, you've told us that, but I want to know more about that, then let us know and we can try and do a topic on that. And yeah, oh, there's so many bees around. This is exciting. It's properly spring now, isn't it? So yeah, thank you very, very much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed it and I hope you've learned something. And yeah, we'll see you next week. So take care. Bye-bye.